ones who are intelligent. There are other things and animals that are intelligent. Some people even talk about plants communicating. So maybe plants have intelligence that we don't know about. Okay, let me go back to that. Okay. So I'm sure you learned something today. So intelligence is not just human. Okay, we shouldn't be arrogant thinking we are the only ones. There are other forms of intelligence. The intelligence of a bee is not necessarily the same kind of intelligence, even though it's inferior. It's not the same kind. We can imagine other kinds of intelligence, not just our copy of intelligence. Even though what we're trying to mimic in artificial intelligence is what we know about our intelligence. The other interesting thing, comparing artificial intelligence and human intelligence, even though there are other forms of intelligence, we are very versatile. I can learn to use a computer, I can learn to drive, I can learn to cook, I can learn to arrange this room in different layouts, I can, I can learn to play chess, I can learn many things. A computer program that learns how to play chess is specifically for chess. It can beat the best humans in chess, but that same program cannot drive, cannot arrange this room in different layouts to maximize the number of people in the room or whatever. Okay? So it's very specialized. So current intelligent machines are only good at just a very specific task. This is changing, by the way. I mentioned it last time when I talked about AlphaGo Zero, that it was able to learn other things too. So this is brand new. Okay. So computational intelligence is an intelligence that is computed by a computer, and it's a program that analyzes, interprets data, like you were defining there before about the environment, so from observations, and adapts to changing situations. And that leads to machine learning, and I'll talk about that on Thursday. So intelligence is artificial intelligence is actually a moving target, because what we call today artificial intelligence and what we used to call artificial intelligence is not the same thing. Why it's not the same thing? Because there were complicated programs that we thought were too difficult, and they in the realm of artificial intelligence. Today, they're so commonplace that we don't consider them artificial intelligence anymore. And artificial intelligence now targets more difficult problems. Okay, so we say that it's a moving target. There are many simple programs that yesterday when we looked at them, we said, wow, how did you do that? How did the program do it? I mean, it's almost like magic. And we put it in the realm of AI. It's not today. And as I told you last time, for me, AI is just a tool to enhance our own capabilities. There are things that I can't do or I wished I could do better, and I'm building tools with AI to help me do it better or do it when I couldn't do it before. AI, the study of AI, there are two goals. One is indeed to build these tools that help me do my task better. But the second goal is to understand our own intelligence. We still don't understand our own intelligence. We don't understand how this amazing machine in our head functions. We have hypotheses and we try to work with that, but we're not certain. So it's not just a computer science field. You have people in philosophy, psychology, linguistics, anthropology. Everybody's interested in this field because it'll help us understand ourselves. Okay. As I said, the truth is that we still don't understand this very complex human machine. Now, AI is not new. AI has been around for a very long time, more than half a century. And I'll show you very briefly the history of AI. This is the only slide I did today, and I tweeted it today. I'm very happy with this, because it took me a while. So the history of AI went through ups and downs. times of hype, wow, AI can do everything, and times of disillusionment. This is garbage, it's not doing what it promised. And the ups and downs were the reason for the two AI winters that we talk about. So the AI winters is when there was no interest in AI, funding dried out. So as it go up is when there is a lot of optimism, and there was a lot of funding, particularly from governments. And down here is when there's disillusionment, AI downturn basically. Nobody cares about AI. So what happened is that in 1950, Alan Turing, do you know about Alan Turing? Hope you at least watched the movies because the source of information are the movies, but Alan Turing is a very important guy. He actually participated in the deciphering of the code from the Germans at the time, working for the British Secret Service. And after the war, he was focusing on how can we use this technology, and he wrote a paper that was published in 1950 talking about thinking machines, so computing machinery and intelligence. And in that paper he devised a test, we call it the Turing test, to decide whether a machine is intelligent or not. When will the machine be as intelligent as humans? And they already started talking about it in 1950. Okay. So that paper and other work before created a lot of enthusiasm about the use of these machines and intelligence. And in 1955, John McCarthy and a team of researchers around the world decided to create a workshop on what they coined at that time. So in 1955, they coined the term artificial intelligence. And that conference happened in 1956, so a year later at Dartmouth. And everybody thought, wow, this will change our society. Because in that proposal that they wrote in 1955, they said that artificial intelligence is actually relatively simple. We just have to take any human activity that requires intelligence, break it down into small pieces, and if we solve every single piece algorithmically, we can make a machine that is intelligent. And people believed that. They were sincere. They didn't just bluff like that. They were sincere. They thought that was the case. So there's a huge optimism there, and government started funding this research because everybody wanted to do it before the other. The Americans before the Japanese, they were still behind there, but the Russians and so forth. Until 1972, so this lasted quite a bit of hype. In 1972, Dreyfus wrote a paper, actually a book. He wrote a book called What Computers Cannot Do, the Limits of Artificial Intelligence. So basically he said this artificial intelligence is utopia. You will never reach the level of humans. And when his book was published, people at the high level in the government in the US and other places, they said, why should we put all this money in AI when it's utopia? Let's move it somewhere else. So funding dried out completely. And that was the first winter. But something saved AI at that time. The Japanese started what they call the fifth generation computer project, where they took languages that were specific for artificial intelligence, like Prolog and Lisp, and they used them as the operating system. And they created these Prolog machines and Lisp machines that at the very low level, they already start using Lisp and Prolog. When the Japanese started this is in 1982, everywhere in the world, the big decision makers, they said, whoa, the Japanese know something that we don't know. Maybe these guys are right. Maybe we can build intelligent machines. So they started funding again. And along the way here, people were working on expert systems. And expert systems boomed as a market, and it was like billions of dollars. So that gave more momentum to this new hype until the market for these Lisp machines collapsed. Nobody wanted to buy these machines because they were not doing what they promised. Again, disillusionment. So we went through another winter where all the funding dried out. Luckily, there were some believers who, with the very little funding that they have, started working just on their subfield in AI, and they had successes. So some hope came back, and very recently people started talking about data analytics, data science, machine learning, and also the computers became more powerful, so we can now execute in a reasonable time some of these sophisticated models that were built before, and the hope came back. And as I told you last time, in 2012, people realized, oh my gosh, deep learning, this neural network thing that was invented a long time ago, actually it's doing amazing things. And so people started believing again and again everywhere. There's also reinforcement learning, and it's going up. It's actually higher than what it used to be. We don't know what will happen later. Is there a third winter, or will it continue? We don't know. The main difference is that this funding and this funding in these two waves was mainly coming from governments. This funding here is coming from industry. So industry is a believer because they have results that can bring return on investment that we didn't have before. AI has many subfields. I mentioned that last time. So there's knowledge representation. I'll go through this quickly because I mentioned it last time. Knowledge representation, there's reasoning, there's planning. All these are part of what we think is intelligence. There is also learning, the capacity of learning, natural language processing, so communicating in these different languages. It's a sophisticated thing. It requires intelligence. There's also computer vision, seeing things and interpreting what we see. So all these are part of AI. So AI, along these years, achieved amazing things so far. And I'll enumerate some of them. The list is too long to go through the whole thing, but I'll show you some. In 1997, Deep Blue, that was devised by a team at IBM, beat Garry Kasparov, which was an unbeatable world champion in chess. That was a big shock in the world. 1997, that's a long time ago already, 20 years ago. That's a huge feat. Here at U of A, we build Chinook, and Chinook beats the best in the world in checkers. Not only we beat the best humans, but actually we solved the problem in 2007. Solve the problem, it means that you have absolutely no hope whatsoever to beat the computer. We know every single, we know the solution for every single move. You probably know about Jeopardy and the program Watson by IBM that can beat the humans at the game of Jeopardy. So you mentioned knowledge as a sign of intelligence. Well, these guys have amazing knowledge. You ask a question, boom, they give you the answer. So for us, they seem amazingly intelligent because they have knowledge we don't know. Oh my gosh, how did he know this answer? Well, the computer can do better. Okay, the computer can answer faster, and they beat the best at this game. This was in 2011. We have other amazing successes. A car that is driven completely autonomously by computer. So in 2000, not even 2000, in 1995, already they crossed from Pittsburgh to San Diego. That was amazing. And there were many competitions where many universities and companies actually compete in different terrains. We still have these competitions, and we have almost now commercially available driving cars. And you need intelligence to drive a car. Heads Up Limit Texas Hold'em. This is a poker game, a variation, and we also solved the problem for the limits version, the no limit. We also beat professional players. So this is amazing. However, you remember in the definition we talked about mimicking and simulating? Often when you open this box, the magic box, and you look inside and you know the trick, it's not magic anymore. Yesterday I was showing my son how to move an elastic from these two fingers, boom, you move them to the other two fingers, you know the trick? Another day I'll show you that. I mean, it looks amazing how this elastic moves from here to here in a fraction of a second, just by opening my fingers. But once I showed my son how the trick is, it's not cool anymore. And it's the same thing here. So I'll show you something about Jeopardy. The AlphaGo trick is a little bit more complex to explain, but let's look at the Jeopardy. So Jeopardy is a game where you have a question and there's a fact that is missing, or you have to make sure it's true or not true, and then you have to answer by asking a question, okay, that shows the answer to the previous fact. So it's a question answering kind of problem. I have a question, answer it. Who thinks a computer could pass an exam in year 2020, so 2 years from now? An exam to enter the university. University entrance exam. Do you think a computer can do that? No. Somebody's saying no. Well, actually, the Tokyo entrance exam, University of Tokyo, is a true-false kind of question set. And we already here in our university, we created a program that can pass that exam. So we could enter the Tokyo University. I told you last time we actually passed the bar exam, Japanese bar exam. The computer theoretically could become a lawyer, but the computer doesn't understand anything about Japanese or anything about the law. There are many tricks. So I'll show you a trick about Jeopardy and Watson. So for example, you have the question like this at Jeopardy. Mozart's Last Symphony shares its name with this planet. And you have to answer, what is? Oh, you don't know the answer. Well, I'll show you how Watson finds the answer. Watson doesn't know, but he'll find it. So Jeopardy asks puts these statements with some facts. It's actually, you can translate them into factoid kind of questions, and then you can say yes or no, here's the answer. So they all end with this something. Okay, and you have to make a question about that something. So here are some examples that come from Jeopardy. I just snapshot them from the internet. So for that question, from that statement, I create a question like that. It has to do with Mozart, and it has to do with the symphony, and it has to do with the planet. So basically, I will query a search engine with Mozart, symphony, and last. Okay, I'll take these keywords, and it happens, of course, very quickly. I will just search, not necessarily the internet, because actually Watson is disconnected from the internet, but it preloads everything beforehand. It's in its memory. But I'll simulate it this way. So I go to my favorite search engine, and I put that query, Mozart Last Symphony, and I get a list of resources. I'll select one of the most authoritative one. In this case, I'll take Wikipedia. It has Symphony 41, Mozart, and then I open it. Okay? As a human, I will read it to guess what the answer is. The computer doesn't know how to read. At least it can go through the words, but it can't interpret them. But instead, it will look, where are these keywords, Mozart, symphony, and last? Where are they? I'm highlighting them there. And it looks at what are the other words that are collocating, frequently collocating with these keywords. Is there one of them that is in the list of planets? So I have another resource that tells me the list of planets. And indeed, I will find that, oh, Jupiter is there. So I'll ask, what is Jupiter? I got it. So that's how it works. It's a trick, but it looks very smart. There's a lot more than that. I'm just explaining at a very high level. There's a lot of ranking that happens, and there is some AI happening there, but it's rudimentary. You can also use the same trick to answer questions that are true or false. So for example, I ask True or false, Charlemagne repelled the Magyars. Is it true or is it false? Well, I don't know. I can transform that question into a factoid question and try to find who actually repelled the Magyars. Okay? So I'll go to Wikipedia, I'll have many of these queries, and I may get many answers. One says the Avars, the other says the Magyars, the Franks, whatever. I have a list, and I have different ways of calculating confidence, and I'll take the most confident, and I say, oh, then it's different than Charlemagne, then that is false. Okay? So that's how I answer true-false questions. There are other questions that are more complicated, like what we call agglomerative questions. I say, who were the last 5 presidents of the United States? It's not just one fact. I have to look at 5 facts and put them all together and give you that answer. So all these are done with sophisticated tricks. But on the outside, it looks, wow, it's impressive. It's intelligent. Okay? Yet, so this is what we in the field know about what is possible. Yet the people on the outside, the public, and especially when you have famous people say it as well, people start panicking. So you have very well-known people, not necessarily in artificial intelligence, but prominent people and knowledgeable people like Stephen Hawking, who is an astrophysicist, Elon Musk, etc., who claim that, wow, artificial intelligence is now dangerous. It's posing an existential threat to humankind. There are even institutes that are created specifically to study this risk, what will happen to us. Well, we shouldn't dismiss it completely, of course, but I think it's a little bit exaggerated. And it's, I mean, the fuel comes from this image that we have, them against us. Remember I talked about it on Tuesday? The machines against the humans. Because of this image, people indeed think this threat is really serious and we should do something about it. This is the example again to illustrate that we are far away from that. It doesn't mean that we will not reach it. We will reach it, actually. I'm sure of it. When, I don't know. But look at this pen. I already told you the answer, but what do you see? What do you see? A pencil. You see a pencil. Yeah, what else do you see? Shadow. You see a shadow, yeah. So you interpreted that this here is the shadow. So there is light. You can imagine that there is light here. You can go beyond the image, okay? That's based on your experience in the past. You saw some light here and you use that experience to interpret that. Yeah, what else can you see?
Maybe a hand.
A hand, yeah. Could you recognize who that is?
Not for sure.
Not for sure. Actually, a computer could. The computer could see the fingerprints and can actually check a database and can tell. So the computer could do better than you. But a computer could tell you, yeah, I recognize a pencil. Exactly what you did. Computer may say, yes, there is a shadow and the angle of the light is there. It can tell you how many lumens and all that stuff, even beyond what you can say. But you can interpret that image. You can say, well, I see a weapon in the hands of a fearsome writer. A computer cannot do that. Cannot do that kind of extrapolation. We're not there yet. But we have these messages coming from, as I said, prominent people. Watch out, the human race is at risk and all that stuff. People like Elon Musk, Bill Gates. Mind you, the media is talking a lot about Stephen Hawking saying that, but Stephen Hawking realized afterwards that maybe I went too far. He backtracked a little bit, and he said the biggest danger to humankind is not the machines. Is we humans, what we will do with these machines against ourselves. So he said the biggest threat, and the media unfortunately is not covering this, he said the biggest threat is capitalism. Why is that? Well, it's because we will use, the people who have the means, so the rich, will use these robots to do all the jobs that now humans are doing. And who will get the profit? Well, the owners of these machines, so the rich. So the gap between the rich and the poor will grow, and if we don't distribute this wealth properly, that becomes existential threat. It makes sense. So we have to think about it. The point is that yes, there's something to think about AI and what it'll do, or what we will do with it, and what it'll do with us in the future if we don't pay attention. So is it really true, or is it just paranoia? Are we exaggerating? Are we actually shooting ourselves in the foot? What is it? Okay? We don't know about ourselves, and we're just simulating something, let alone, I mean, it's a far cry from a machine that is self-aware of itself, knows what's happening. Ooh, somebody's going to pull the plug and kill me. We're not there yet. However, it's not new. Even so, Ray Solomonoff, he's one of the pioneers in AI, and a long time ago, this was in 1967, he was saying that it would be well if a large number of intelligent humans devote a lot of thought on these problems before they arise, meaning having intelligent machines that become more intelligent than us. So it's a not new phenomenon. People have been thinking about it already. So we should devote some considerable thought to this issue. But we shouldn't use it as an excuse to stop what we are doing. I'm going to skip the singularity. I'm going to come here to this slide. This is also a new slide. Singularity, I think you had already a lecture on singularity, so we all know what it is. The thing is that often people understand that there are many levels of intelligence. This is the intelligence of a machine today. It recognizes a pencil, it can't go beyond that, interpreting what it can do and all that stuff. We understand animals have intelligence, like the mouse here, like our pets, the dogs, the cats, the birds, the bee, they have some sort of intelligence, but we're way above them. We have a better intelligence. And we often think that's the maximum, that's the top. But the train that is carrying the artificial intelligence is moving forward, and it's not going to stop here, and it's not going to stop at the train station for human intelligence. It'll go beyond. And if it'll go beyond, what does that mean? Okay? So this is not the maximum intelligence. There is more. There's beyond. Okay? So let's look at this in more details. You have a mouse. And we all agree that a mouse is intelligent. Do you agree the mouse is intelligent? Well, the mouse, if it needs to get food, and the food is on the other side of the river, and it smells it, the survival instinct will push it to cross the river, so it'll adapt to that new environment. It'll find a way to cross the river to get the food and bring it back or something like that. Okay? If food is abundant, it goes in your fridge, it'll eat it. If it needs to build a nest for the new babies, it'll build it with whatever it finds. If it's in the field, it'll use what it finds in the field. If it's in your garage, it'll use the paper and cables and cardboard, whatever it'll find in your garage. So it is adapting to that environment to solve its problem. The problem is to build a nest for the babies. So it is intelligent. The mouse is even capable of learning a maze and adapting to that maze. So if in a maze you put cheese in some place, and the mouse is trying to find the cheese, and it goes in many cul-de-sacs, and at one point it will, when it learns the maze and you put it back in that maze, it goes directly to the perfect path. So it has some intelligence indeed. You can even teach a mouse to add numbers and subtract numbers. Okay? However, that same mouse, looking at the stars at night when it's in the fields, is it thinking about stars and planets and I don't know, different worlds where other mice might live? Is it thinking about building a rocket to travel there or send a probe or whatever? Certainly not. At a lower level, when it's eating cheese, is it thinking of the protein structure in this cheese? No, it's just cheese. It's eating it to live. Okay? When it's in my garage and it goes to my engine because it's warm and it's nibbling on the cables, doesn't understand what that engine is for, that engine is actually to move a car, to move me from one place to the other. No, it has no idea what that is. When it sees a rocket shooting like that in Cape Canaveral or wherever, does it understand that that's a rocket going to space? It can add numbers. Can it think mathematically like this with abstraction? No. We can't conceivably imagine that the mouse, the brain that it has, can take it to that kind of intelligence. So, obviously, we all agree that there's a different level of intelligence. That mouse is intelligent, but it's not our intelligence. It's below. Okay, so there's a scale, like what I showed you with the railway and the train going from one train station to the other. So, we humans on this planet are superior to the other animals. We are animals as well. We are superior not because we're strong, or we have a thick skin or whatever. It's because we are intelligent and we can build tools to solve our problems and surpass the others. So we have intelligent and we have sub-intelligent animals that can build the tools that we have, that can't think at the level that we are thinking, that doesn't have the same intelligence. But that doesn't mean that this is the maximum. We can have something super intelligent. This is sub-intelligence, this is super intelligent. So a machine eventually, or some being, not necessarily a machine, but something could become, or could reach this intelligence that is superior to us. This is the hypothetical machine. Okay? We shouldn't be arrogant to say, that's it. No, that's zero. There's negative and there's positive. Okay. So how do we get there is the question. And to get there, what do you think? How do we move from our intelligence to this super intelligence? You mentioned knowledge. Is knowledge enough? Okay, there's a lot of knowledge in a machine that we don't have individually. Can you name all the capitals in the world? Well, a machine can, very easily. Is it more intelligent than us? No. So how do we get from here to here? Can you speculate? So most people think about a machine that will become more intelligent. But think about we humans. Can we become more intelligent? Or maybe an alien will come from another planet that is more intelligent. So what are the means? Yep.
I have two possibilities. One, enhancements. For example,
Enhancements, good, yeah.
We're using machines, but instead we can use the machines as tools to help us. Secondly, perhaps this sounds a little far-fetched, but even genetics, maybe.
Yes, very good.
That as well.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, something as simple as just enlarging the brain might just have more processing power
Yeah.
than just a regular brain. And that's around all the videos about it.
No, these are good answers. Any other suggested answers? Well, personally, I see four paths that can lead us there. Some are more realistic than others. So you mentioned genetically we can do enhancements. Yeah, why not? It's not ethical, possibly. But if I believe that if we take somebody born centuries ago and bring that person here to our time, they'll be as intelligent as us. You put them in school like us, they go through school, they use the means we have, they learn the way we do. Of course, if you take an adult from a few centuries ago and put them here, they'll think they're in another planet. They will not understand, comprehend what we have. Okay? But if you start as a baby, they will integrate our society with no problems. So we have the same capacity as we used to have before. Would you agree with that? However, we can start genetically selecting people and say, okay, this person is not going to be skilled at doing these things, okay, we'll abort, and we keep only those that, I mean, theoretically we could do that. It's unethical, but it can be done. So we can help evolution. Because this evolution from Aristotle to Einstein was extremely slow. There's no difference. These two babies, if you put them in the same school, they may achieve exactly the same thing. They're all smart in their own era. Okay? But we can help evolution, but it'll take a long time too, very long time. And it may or may not work, and it's unethical. The second path is what most people think about. So it's a machine that will eventually become more intelligent than us. So it's actually AI, artificial intelligence, that will evolve. We'll have new techniques, better machines, and so forth, until we have a machine that is better than us. However, we have amazingly fast computers. I mean, your phone is better than amazing computers a few years ago that only governments had. And now watches have amazing computers. And I mean, it's very difficult to fathom how different this computer on my watch is compared to the computer on Apollo, the Apollo mission that went to the moon. So hardware has improved. However, software is still way behind. Software that is running on the computer that is actually doing the computation. I think this can happen the day computers start programming themselves, and we are starting doing that. The day computers can write their own software. Okay. Are there other paths? Yes, there are other paths. Another path is enhancements. So you mentioned enhancements. We can enhance our bodies and our brains, what we do, with machines. So it's a mixture between machines and humans. What we call cybernetics. So people are talking about cybernetic singularity. Maybe you will have a way to extend our memory or think faster, or if you can create this interface between the human brain and machine. So in that case, you can have the enhanced people who are smarter than the non-enhanced people. The fourth, there's a movement called the transhumanism that is going in that direction. The fourth path is something we still don't control very well, but it is coming from the possibility that there are other kinds of intelligence that may emerge with the things we're building, maybe unintentionally. So if you look at our brain is what? It's just a collection of neurons that are interconnected and communicating with each other. And from that set of neurons, billions of them, you have this intelligence emerging. Maybe from these billions of now things interconnected, what we call the Internet of Things, a new intelligence will emerge that was unintentional, that could be more intelligent than us. We don't know. It's another path. Okay? And this idea comes from the observation how, I have a video here, but I invite you to look at it on YouTube. There are a few of them. Looking at ants' nests. So an ant, has some intelligence, at the level of the bee that we talked about before. Okay? The ants collect food, and they can survive different seasons, whether it's cold, hot, dry, wet. Okay, they adapt to that environment, and they're thinking ahead because they're storing. They're even capturing other insects. They have herds of other insects. Okay, but when you open the nest, the ant's nest, and you look at the complexity inside, the architecture, how they have different chambers, where do they have their cultures of different, even mushrooms and fungi and stuff like that, you can't imagine that it's coming from the intelligence of one ant that designed all this. It's the collective put together that creates this intelligence. Okay? So I invite you to look at these videos about ants' nests. It's really fascinating. Okay. So now let's focus on this third one, because I believe that is the most plausible one. You know this picture. This is Captain Picard, for those who watch Star Trek. Captain Picard, this is the next generation, so not the first generation of Star Trek, but the second one. Captain Picard that was kidnapped by the Borgs and was assimilated in the Borg community. So he became a cyborg, half machine, half human. Well, we often think of cyborgs as humans to which you add these mechanical machines to them, and that you enhance them that way. And there are many examples. Actually, Patrick Pilarski will talk about these intelligent prosthetics that we use to enhance the people who lost a limb, not the people who are healthy, but people who lost a limb. Very soon you'll see, as I mentioned last time, people who will choose to have these enhancements. But we can look at it the other way, where you add actually living cells to mechanical objects, and they become also cyborgs. And I have an example here. This is a robot rat, where it's a robot that is controlled by cells from a rat brain. So they take a few thousands of these cells, they connect them together, they create a culture of that, and then they connect them to these electric probes, and then they get signals sent to this robot, and then this brain is controlling the robot to find and avoid these walls, find a path in a maze. I think I have the video here. I'll show you that very quickly. It's less than a minute. It's actually quite fascinating. No, it's I think it's here, yes. That screen is very small. I don't know why. No. The double screen there, this is terrible resolution. I don't know why I can't see it here. Okay, good. Yes. So, oh no, that's a different video, shoot. This is a video where they actually took the brain of a worm. And the brain of a worm is composed of 300 neurons. It's very, very simple. And they simulated it. They simulated these 300 neurons. This is showing the simulation. And then they connected it to a robot. And without programming it at all, they just use this synthetic brain of a worm, and with that brain they control the robot without any programming, nothing, just getting the signals from the environment, which is fascinating. But the video that I wanted to show you is a video about the rat. Oh, here it is. Okay. First I have to stop this guy. Where's my mouse? Okay, stop that. Make it smaller. I close this, I don't need it. Go to this robot rat. Okay, here it is.
About unknown aspects of our own brain activity. You may think you have little in common with this robot, but it is controlled by living brain cells much like those inside your own head. Researchers grew a collection of around 300,000 rat brain cells in the lab. The cells quickly grow connections to each other and start communicating using electrical pulses. When the clump of cells was connected to electrodes, some parts of it were found to respond predictably to signals from the robot's ultrasound distance sensor. The output from these cells can be used to control the robot's motor circuits, preventing it from bumping into obstacles. Because the brain cannot leave the lab, it communicates with the robot wirelessly. The team plan to use their robot's brain power for new patterns of behaviour in future. They hope there are enough similarities to teach us about unknown aspects of our own brain activity.
Okay. So the interesting thing is that the brain cells, the collection of brain cells that they use to control that robot, they don't live very long. They die. So they replace them with new cells from another rat. So here you have the same robot as a cookie cutter. They create many different robots. They're exactly the same, actually. They're not different. The only difference is that the cells come from different rats. The behavior is different. The behavior of these the rat robots are different because the cells come from different robots, but the robot itself is the same. This is actually very interesting. So basically the message here is cyborg is not just a human enhanced with mechanical devices. You can have mechanical devices enhanced also with living cells. Okay. And soon we'll have the $6 million man and the bionic woman that we see in science fiction. Actually, science fiction is filled with these cyborgs. From Data in Star Trek, R2-D2 is not really a cyborg, but you have a Terminator and so forth, AI, and it's not new. But are you convinced that this will lead us to something better than what we have as humans today? So I'll show you some examples where I personally will choose these enhancements if enough people test them, and then I'm convinced. So here's an example. Some people lose their sight, their vision. They can't see anymore because of degeneration of their retina. Well, we can give them their sight back, their vision back. So there are many labs in the world working on this. One of the first ones was done at ETH Zurich, at the university there. It's a chip that is installed on the retina and connected directly to the optical nerve and sends signals to the optical nerve, exciting that nerve. The same technique as the cochlear implant that is put here on the bone, sending signals to the inside of the ear to make you believe that you're hearing sound. So there's a microphone capturing the sound and reproducing the appropriate signals inside to make you hear the same sounds. It can create other sounds that you don't see, you don't hear. But in this case, you have cameras on the glasses that see what's in front, send that signal wirelessly to the chip on the retina. And then these blind people start seeing things like that. From nothing to seeing shapes. This is very pixelized. There are different techniques. So there's this one, that's a picture of the chip. There's this another company that is doing these other shapes. But what these early images are showing us is very pixelized images, black and white, it's grayscale, it's not color. But these images remind us the early digital cameras. How are the digital cameras today? You have millions of pixels, megapixels. You can actually see in the dark. So if in few years this technology will allow the blind people to see better than what we can see, they can see at night, they can zoom in, zoom out, they can take pictures. I would like an eye like that. Okay? Wouldn't you? What do you think? Oh, my battery's dying. So today, the priority for these prosthetics is given to people who had an accident. They lost an arm, they got a disease, they lost their eye or whatever. But in the future, maybe these will become choices. People will choose. I have the means, I'll buy a new arm. Okay? Is that ethical? It's a different question. We have to discuss that. So people will end up choosing these enhancements. And here's an example that will convince you with an artificial eye. What is this? This is a picture taken in 2011, so years ago. This is the crowd in Vancouver when the Stanley Cup finals were played in Vancouver. CBC knew that not everybody could get in the stadium, so they had these big screens on the street to allow people in the street to watch the game. Police knew that there will be riots in case Vancouver lost, so they had cameras placed in many places. Nobody knew about these cameras, and indeed a riot erupted afterwards. So here's an example of these pictures taken by security, police. What do you see here? What do you see? Come on, guys.
People?
People, yes. A crowd of people. So people typically believe they're hidden in a crowd. Do you see this guy here? You can't. Okay? But I could zoom in. This is a camera that has 2100 megapixels. It's not the usual camera that you have in your phone. So I could zoom in. There. That's what I see. I can still zoom in here. That's what I see. I can still zoom in here. And that's what I see. From that dot, if I took this picture with your best camera today and I tried to zoom in, that's what I would see. Okay? Well, this is a typical resolution. So very soon, that artificial eye, that bionic eye, will be able to do this. That means I would be able to read the newspaper 200 meters away. Can you do that today? You can't. So you will start having these enhancements. You will choose. If somebody gives you this opportunity, wouldn't you choose to do that? So this is for the eye, but maybe also there are ways of enhancing my memory. I will not forget anymore, or I will think faster to solve some problems. Okay? And that's the world we're going towards. Okay? And people are doing it already. This is called body hacking. People are adding technology to their own bodies. This is a picture, an X-ray picture. You can see the RFID that people have put in their skin inside here, and they can use that to open doors, start the engine of the car, being identified and things like that. There are companies now in Europe that encourage their employees to have that, to start buying stuff in the dispenser machine or starting working on the computer to be identified, entering labs and things like that. Here are people who are installing LED lights in their skin, and this LED light turns on when they detect Wi-Fi. So as they're walking, if it turns on, oh, there's Wi-Fi, they can connect. And they do all sorts of things to enhance their bodies. This is a guy who added actually a hard disk underneath his skin to collect biometrics. I mean, people are enhancing all sorts of things they're thinking about and they're doing. Since we don't have rules, they're doing it. So very soon, this is done by amateurs. So imagine when it becomes professional. This is a wearable sensor, so this is printed. It's called biostamp. Okay, you print this chip on your skin to do different things. So it's changing very rapidly. Okay, and that's why I believe that's one of the means, one of the paths that can lead to the singularity. So singularity means entities that are more intelligent than us. Any comments? Shocked? What do you have to say about that? Speechless. This is reality. This is not fiction. This is not a movie. So, the floor is yours. I really left them speechless. Are they like that all the time?
They're a quieter group, but the course description talks about providing a good experience to the shy students. So maybe the shyness amongst this group is slightly greater than this group. I don't know.
To survive in the world of cyborgs, you can't be shy. You have to participate. So let's go around here. What do you think about these four paths, and what do you think is most plausible? And do you think it'll happen? Do you think in this singularity?
Well, it's certainly becoming more accessible, that's for sure.
Okay.
I've heard stories of people being able to make easier to make prosthetics. Even like little boys, you see them on the news and they're like, oh, this guy made the most...
With 3D printers and, yeah.
He was able to make prosthetics very cheaply, he was able to sell them among his community, and he was not able to spend as much time as we have been for the past couple of years. So it's certainly becoming more accessible and cheaper. With more powerful technology, we could probably make this accessible to just a regular average human being. Mm-hmm. So I think in terms of production, I think that's where I'm going with this. I think it's certainly increasing, making it far more common to see these types of things around. So that's my thought on it.
Who's a handyman here? Nobody. Okay, well, imagine you're working doing something and you're using both hands. Did it occur to you sometimes you're working on something and I'm using both hands, I need a third hand to hold something. So I'm fixing something I'm already holding with two hands and I need a third hand to do something else. Well, talk to Patrick when he comes and presents about the third hand that they developed in the lab. So it's the third hand that comes from the back. So it's attached in the back. And imagine a plumber, for example, he needs to hold this pipe and hold this pipe and do the welding. He has only two hands. And then suddenly the third arm is smart enough to realize, oh, I'm needed now. It comes out and it holds the pipe while I'm welding. It's not science fiction. This is something that is here. Okay? You said, yeah, we're making it more affordable and available. It's true. 3D printer, done. Other, yeah.
Who who's it going to be up to regulate these kinds of things?
Whoa, this is a tough question. Do we need to regulate or do we need to educate? I don't know. I don't like regulating because if you regulate it here, what stops somebody else from somewhere else to do it? Then say, oh, I'm not going to regulate it because I don't want that competition. I want to be ahead of them. You say it's forbidden here, they can do it in a rogue country somewhere else. So I think it's more education that is important. What is right, what is wrong. But people have to think about it. I can only participate by saying what is possible. I'm not the specialist to decide what is right, what is wrong. And what is right and what is wrong depends upon the space and the time. What was right and wrong yesterday is certainly not right and wrong today, and what is right and wrong today may be different tomorrow. And when you have something that is more intelligent than us, maybe what is right and what is wrong for that intelligent being is different than what is right and wrong for me. I'm not in the right position to say that.
Did you have a question?
I was going to say, like prosthetics, I feel like you're just going to have to throw regulation out. Because when it comes to things like sports, are people going to start replacing things, not because they're necessary, but because they're nonsense?
Well, in sports, we've seen already a case of a runner, famous runner, who's dealing with prison and
Now in jail.
jail, yeah. But not for that reason, for a different reason. In his case, they had to put regulations because he could have put the right prosthetic to run even faster than the humans. At one point, I believe that there will be competitions for the pure and for those who are enhanced, because you can't stop it.
So for regarding improving like the human genome, has that really ever been done, or is the focus more on the other?
Well, in terms of intelligence, I don't know. It has been done for different other diseases. But for intelligence, I don't know if it has been done. If it has been done, it would have, I mean, it was certainly a secret. I am not aware of people attempting it officially. But it can be done, it takes a while. No more comments? So think about what we talked about. Spread it, tell other people that the future is here. And we ought to think about it. We shouldn't wait till it happens and it's at our doorsteps to say, oh my gosh, we have to think about it now. It's too late. We have to think about it today. That's the main reason we are presenting it in classes like this. Majority of people have no idea that this is already here. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Great. Thank you.